Well, I am finally here to talk about probably the most popular movie trilogy of all time. Hey guys, it's Daniel here. Now, I know we're dealing with a pandemic a little bit. The pandemic is starting to fade away, so last year, while during the pandemic, I've been binge watching multiple movies and shows. And last year, I finally watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy for the first time. Yes, last year was the first time I've ever seen Lord of the Rings. I know I should have done it, like, many years ago. I should have been a huge fan many years ago, but last year was the first time I saw it, and I was blown away. Then, I find out that all three films are going to be released in cinemas. Yes, they're being re-released in cinemas, because the cinemas aren't showing new movies, so just to pass the time, they've been showing old movies in the cinema. And, very recently, I saw the first one in the cinema. Yes, I managed to go back to the cinema to watch a movie. I am so happy to be back at the cinema. I mean, I've not visited the cinema in over a year. So, just to pass the time, I'm going to review each Lord of the Rings film that I see in the cinema. Remember when I said in my update video about that they were going to be released every year? Well, I was wrong, they're released every week. So, on Tuesday last week, I went to go see the first one. On Friday, probably, this week, I'm going to go see the second one, and I have to find out the time to see the third one. So, I'm super excited to talk about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I cannot wait to talk about this first film, because it's a fantastic way to start the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, let's get started with the first one, because today I'm going to be reviewing The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. For those of you who have absolutely no idea what the story is by now, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring tells the story of the One Ring. It's a ring that was created by the evil sorcerer Sauron to increase his power and take over the world of Middle-earth. This ring helps people become invisible when they put it on, but anyone who has this ring suddenly feels like enticed by it. They feel like possessed by its power and that they need it in their lives. They don't care about anything else, they just care about the ring. And after Sauron was defeated, the ring ends up being passed on to multiple creatures and people in Middle-earth. Gandalf the Grey, the wizard, goes to visit his old friend Bilbo Baggins, who currently has the ring, but the ring is slowly enticing power. So to get away from the enticement, he leaves the ring behind in the town of the Shire. And when the ring ends up in the hands of Bilbo's young nephew, Frodo, Gandalf tells Frodo that the ring is being withdrawn by Sauron, who has returned, and wants to use the ring to increase his power and his army to take over Middle-earth for good. So Frodo, a few hobbits, Gandalf, and many rangers and dwarves and elves join together to become the Fellowship of the Ring as they go up to Mount Doom in Mordor to throw the ring into the Mountain of Fire. That's the place where it was created, thus that's the only place where the ring can be destroyed, and that's where the Lord of the Rings trilogy begins. My god, this has got to be one of the greatest starters to a movie trilogy I have ever seen. I mean, it feels like you're in the experience with these characters, going on adventures, casting spells, fighting enemies. It makes you really want to be in Middle-earth. And that's the first thing I'll say about this movie. It makes you feel enticed into the story, because we end up caring about Middle-earth so much that we don't want Sauron to destroy it. Like, take the Shire, for example. The Shire is such a beautiful, wholesome little place full of very exciting hobbits. They just... Ooh, it's just so good. It's slice of life, and the hobbits are pretty cute there. It makes you really want to go to Middle-earth. And this whole place, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, was actually filmed in New Zealand. And honestly, I want to go to New Zealand so I can go to each destination where the Lord of the Rings trilogy was shot. Like, I want to go to Shire. I want to go where they filmed Gondor. I wanted to film when they went to go show Mordor. Well, actually, maybe not Mordor, because that place is scary, but you know what I mean. I mean, of course they're not real, but you know what I mean. This world just makes you feel so enticed, and the beauty waters of Rivendell, where the elves live, they're just so... Ugh, you love Middle-earth, and the cinematography that shows Middle-earth as a whole is blood excellent. Especially this one scene where, after Elrond sends the Fellowship off to destroy the ring, you get this beautiful shot where they're all crossing across the mountain, and then you hear that beautiful theme like da 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 da. Just to see that in the cinema was such a huge experience, and that's another thing that makes you feel enticed by Middle-earth, and another great aspect of the movie in technical level, although it's not really technical level, it's more sounding level. The score by Howard Shore is excellent. It's so enticing. Like I said, that theme where they're crossing across the mountain is excellent. Like, it makes the film even more bigger, more epicer, and yet more sympathetic and heartwarming. Especially the theme for the Shire. Da 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 da. That's what makes the film so wholesome. The action sequences are fantastic as well. You've got a lot of choreographically awesome scenes where Aragorn's just like swinging his sword. There's a lot at stake in this story. I mean, the action scenes are fantastic in this movie, but they're only going to get better as in Two Towers and Return of the King. So the action scenes are spectacular, but not exactly as good as what we'll end up getting in the sequels. But the action scenes and the score and the technical levels don't do the film that justice. Sure, it does give us introduction to Middle-earth, but we're only getting introduction to Middle-earth thanks to those aspects. What we need to do is use the story and the acting to get us invested to the characters, the Fellowship of the Ring themselves. And that is, of course, what this film exactly does. The story is spectacular. This is like, all three movies are just one whole movie split into three parts. And this is the part where you definitely get a bit of build-up to what's going to happen in the sequels. Like, it's so happy at first. That's what makes you fall in love with Middle-earth. That's how you introduce the film's world and makes it more needable for it to be safe when they're introduced to the Shire. But then we see Sauron's evil magic control Middle-earth and turns it into a complete nightmare, and that's something we do not want, so we hope that the future sequels have them beating up Sauron's army. And then we get the characters and the actors involved. These have to be some of the most adorable, lovable, yet charming and exciting characters I've ever seen in a movie. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us are going to feel the same way. First of all, we have our main character and the ring bearer himself, Frodo Baggins the Hobbit, played by Elijah Wood. He has got to be one of the most charming and likeable main heroes I have ever seen in a movie. He's just a humble little hobbit who legitimately loves the Shire and loves to look out for the people that he cares for, mainly his best friend Samwise Gamgee. Sure, he can get frightened and scared by Sauron's army sometimes, but that doesn't totally make him a coward, because he's already having to deal with the possessed magic of the ring, because he's the one who's carrying the ring throughout the entire journey. So he's going to have to he keeps dealing with, like, trying to make sure that the ring doesn't entice him. And that's what makes him such a strong hero. Sure, I do wish he could have, like, contributed more to fighting, because he sometimes pulls out a sword, but he doesn't really use the sword, so it's not really exactly what I wanted. But he still makes for a charming and likeable hero. You root for him, he roots for everyone, he cares so much for Middle-earth and will do anything to save it. but he can be doubtful about his choices and why he even has the ring, for example. But he has to learn that this whole ring thing is destiny, and that can make him a strong person, and even makes his own sacrifices to try to protect his friends, mainly his best friend. And speaking of his best friend, we've also got Frodo's best friend slash gardener, Samwise Gamgee, played wholesomely by Sean Astin. He is as likable, if not more likable, than Frodo, because he's always sticking by Frodo's side no matter what. When he's told by Gandalf that he has to protect Frodo, he takes it seriously. I mean, I made a promise, Mr. Frodo. A promise. Don't you leave in Samwise Gamgee. And I don't mean to. That's what makes him so likable. This is how you write a best friend in a movie. Make their motivations come off as likable to their best friends, because he never leaves Frodo's side. And plus, in the action scenes, he does do more than Frodo, because he's actually a very skilled fighter. He actually fights off against the orcs, sometimes fights off against wild beasts, sometimes. He's such a brave hobbit. And the bond between him and Frodo is even more wholesome. That's what I'm saying. This first film is so wholesome because there are many likable traits, and it's mainly the chemistry between Frodo and Sam, or Elijah Wood and Sean Astin, because it gives more hope that maybe the Fellowship could return and Middle-earth can be saved, because their bond for each other is just a small glimmer of hope in these dark times. It's so moving. And they're just getting started. You haven't even seen what their relationship is like in the second film or the third film yet. There is one character that definitely steals the movie for me, and that is Gandalf the Grey, the wizard, played spectacularly by Ian McKellen. Wow, he has got to be one of the most charming wizards I've ever seen. He's kind of like the Dumbledore of Lord of the Rings, although Lord of the Rings was written before Harry Potter, so J.K. Rowling was kind of influenced by Lord of the Rings. But back to Gandalf, he's such a likable character. He can be charming and witty and kind-hearted to the hobbits, but also will get kind of angry and annoyed by them if they do something wrong. But within good reason, because he's trying to like protect his new Fellowship rangers and hobbits that he has met, and you can see the fear in his eyes once he sees that Bilbo is slowly becoming enticed by the ring. And that's what makes him such a likable character, which makes it kind of sad by what happens to him later on. And I know a lot of people already know what happens to Gandalf later on in the movie, but I'm not going to spoil it in case you don't. But let's just say it makes one of the most likable lines ever, and it makes Gandalf probably the most meaningful and heartwarming character in this movie. And Ian McKellen plays the wizarding trope perfectly. I think they should consider casting him as a wizard in future films. Well, they do, but not as very meaningful as Gandalf is, because he's one of the most iconic characters in a movie ever. Aragorn, played by Viggo Mortensen, is a ranger who is currently meant to be next in line for the throne of Gondor, but he feels reluctant by what happened to the original heir to the throne, so he runs away, quits his job as king, and goes on to live a normal life of rangering. He's currently reluctant about protecting the hobbits, but he also knows that he must protect the hobbits as duty, and as he slowly starts to bond with the hobbits, the more he can see him as a true leader. His main problem with himself is his self-doubt, like, can I do this? But as he leads the group, he suddenly realizes, maybe I can be a leader, possibly a king. And Viggo Mortensen just plays the whole ranger type brilliantly. He's kind of like the Han Solo of Middle-earth to me. Arwen, played by Liv Taylor, is Aragorn's elfin girlfriend, who was the daughter of Elrond in the Kingdom of Rivendell. She does have a bit of reluctance to let Aragorn go, but she also has determined for him because their love for each other is so strong, and she definitely feels like Aragorn could take on the challenge, proving that she does love him and doesn't leave him no matter what. Even when he leaves his role as king, she still tries her best to like look out for him. And Liv Taylor just plays the role brilliantly. Many of you might know her as like the love interest in The Incredible Hulk. So she plays the role brilliantly. Vladriel, played by Cate Blanchett, is a elfin character who meets Frodo on his journey. What I really like about her character is that she does have some kind of love for Frodo. Like, she's a mother to him, because you see the way she helps him, like, discover self-doubt and helps him to go on with his mission. This makes Cate Blanchett perfect for the role, because she definitely handles some serious moments, but also has a loving, caring side for Frodo, like he's her son. And that's what I really like about this character the most. Then we have Frodo's uncle, Bilbo Baggins, played by late Ian Holm. What I really love about his character is that he's so layered and sympathetic. This ring has been in his grasp for a long time, and you see that the ring is like enticed him by its power, and even though he does like crave the ring, he also has some self-doubt himself about what the ring can be capable of, and tries to get the ring as far as well, and you feel the sadness in his eyes once he almost like betrays his own nephew. He's just like, I'm sorry, I put you through this. You see him crying, it's just, ugh. It's so sad. So sad to see him like this. And the late Ian Holm plays this character brilliantly. He sadly passed away last year, so I guess this is kind of a tribute to Ian Holm. So well done, Ian Holm. You are fantastic as the role of Bilbo Baggins. You make him come off as sympathetic and likeable. Then we've got 3 other characters of the Fellowship: Boromir, Legolas, and Gimli. Gimli is a dwarf warrior who makes very, very funny jokes. I found him to be funny. Legolas, the elfin warrior, warring archers, who is awesome with his skills, and Boromir. He also comes off as very sympathetic, but also kind of frightening, because he also starts to become enticed by the ring. But he does have some doubt about what the ring is capable of as well, and does try to distract himself from the ring. He's very good, and Sean Bean is excellent. Then we've got the 2 hobbits, Merry and Pippen, who are like the comic reliefs of Lord of the Rings. Now, people seem to be on and off with these 2 characters. They either like them or find them annoying. Personally, I found them to be fun because they just make so many rise-cracking jokes of each other, and most of their jokes are made up of food and drink references. I found them to be really fun, but they do mature as the series goes on, and we'll get to that when we review Two Towers and Return of the King. Now let's talk about the villains of this movie. First, there's Sauron. He's a sorcerer who has created the ring, who's been constantly separated by the ring for many years, and wants to bring the apocalypse back to Middle-earth by finding the ring to increase his power. I think his diabolical plan is just so diabolical, because he sends his like ring ravers out to destroy anyone who puts on the ring, and by destroying everyone, I mean everyone that lives in them. Like, they go off to the Shire and end up destroying some things about the Shire. It's just, ugh. It makes Sauron so a very awesome villain. He's now like this giant eye who is controlling people in Middle-earth, and let me just say, his eye form is excellent. And then we have his right-hand wizard, Saruman, played by Christopher Lee. He was originally a friend of Gandalf, Elrond, and Galadriel, but betrayed them to team up with Sauron to help him create the army to take over Middle-earth. It's a very awesome and very cool, yet very scary supporting villain, and Christopher Lee plays the part superbly. And then we have the ending of the movie. I won't spoil what happens at the end, but this is where the first chapter of the trilogy concludes. There's a bit of, like, moral danger, but there's also a bit of hope. The movie ends with a cliffhanger, and and it makes you already want to go see the next one. I know, when I first saw it in the cinema, I already wanted to rewatch the second one. It was that good. And I definitely will go to the cinema to see the Two Towers, because the ending of Fellowship is just excellent, and it gives us a lot of enticement, and it has things at stake, and you just really want to see what happens to our characters in the next chapter. So overall, I love Fellowship of the Ring. It's one of my favourite films ever, because it's so heartfelt, so emotional, yet very wholesome, with memorable characters, an enticing story, beautiful music, superb visuals, very awesome acting, and very high stakes awesomeness. It's honestly one of the best ways to open a trilogy I've ever seen. I know this film is over 3 hours long, but honestly, I don't care. This is my review of the theatrical version of the film, so most of my points are coming from the theatrical version, because that's the version they showed in the cinemas. And honestly, I was definitely in there for a while. I felt like I was in there for a long time, but honestly, I don't care. I love it that much that I wanted to see more of it, and I cannot wait to see more in the sequels. The Fellowship of the Ring gets 5 out of 5. It's a masterpiece, and if you just want to have a good time with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, if you've never seen it before, it's a long trilogy with long movies, so put up your feet, grab a snack, and then give them a watch. Anyway, what do you... You know what, I'm not even going to ask. I'm pretty sure a lot of you love Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, so let me know in the comment section below. And what is your favourite way to start off a trilogy? Let me know in the comment section below as well. I will try to get my TV review done, because there's a special TV review that I'm doing, and I will get my reviews of Two Towers and Return of the King out when I go to see them in the cinemas. I also plan to watch and review The Mitchells vs. The Machine, so let's just hope that gets out. But anyway, I'm done reviewing movies, TV shows, doing videos, and being the good friend as I am. You see, I made a promise, okay? Don't you leave your channel. Don't you leave your subscribers. And I don't mean to. I don't mean to. So I will try to help you, my subscribers. Till then, peace out, man.